Hey, friends, and welcome to the Amazing Entrepreneurs Club. I'm glad you're here today for what I know is going to be another really great conversation with our guest today, Charese Josie. Now, Charese is a woman's leadership coach and licensed clinical social worker. She founded CJ Counseling and Consulting Services, which provides individual counseling, women's wellness workshops, and other services to build confidence, strengthen relationships, and create boundaries. Charese has been featured in multiple media outlets such as Cosmopolitan, Vision, and Purpose magazine. And her goal is to work with women leaders to teach them to trust themselves to reduce self-induced and societal pressures. Charese, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm excited for this conversation. You and I think, met on Clubhouse, and I was fascinated by your story. And we had the chance to have a little pre-call. And so I'm excited for you to share a little bit about who you are and exactly what it is that you do. So go ahead.
Sure. I work with women leaders to help them to build their confidence, to heal all of her so that she can learn to trust again. So we're doing this by creating some boundaries, strengthening personal and professional relationships. I'm working with all of her.
I love that definition, all of her. So you're
Yeah.
looking at it holistically, but you actually have a degree in counseling. So you've been a counselor for a long time.
Yes, I am a licensed clinical social worker. So I've been a social worker for about 20 years. Started out working with children in the foster care system. And since 2009, started to work with adults. So domestic violence, and then I moved into individual counseling. And now I'm evolving into coaching and consulting.
So that's really awesome. And I love the story and the progression of how you went from children to adults and now specifically to women. But you actually are not a full-time entrepreneur just yet. You actually have a full-time job, correct?
Correct.
Tell us about that.
So I still have a full-time job, and I did this purposefully because I was a clinical supervisor for a government agency. So I was tasked with running 4 programs and 7 employees. However, my life looked like 4 programs and 2 to 3 employees. So I was overworked, exhausted, depleted. So I left there and found another government job, same pay, same work. However, I'm not supervising, only in charge of 1 program. I could do the direct service. And this gave me the opportunity to actually build and learn how to be an entrepreneur. So that's actually a stepping stone for me. We'll see how long I last there. I told them I'm giving them 11 years. I don't know how that will come about, but we'll see.
So you had one job with the government that led you to another job with the government because you were overwhelmed and overworked. And that second job with the government actually kind of ignited this entrepreneur path that you're on to create the programs and the services that you're creating.
Yeah, it gave me time, space, but it also gave me emotional availability to work on my business.
Yeah, absolutely. And we need that, right? We need this emotional space to actually work on our business, especially when you're balancing a full-time job, a family life, and now you want to start a business on the side. That really you need more than just emotional space. You need physical space, you need mental space, emotional space in order to do it, because building a business is it's not like you just like pull it out of a cabinet and there it is, here's a business and I'm going to build it, right? There's no instructions that go along with it.
Absolutely. So I'm learning a lot since I've started this journey.
So I am curious, Charese, what made you want to be an entrepreneur?
I think that stressful job, that first, when I was a supervisor, I knew I was stuck and I needed to do something different. So I went to therapy and I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm looking for. I just need to get unstuck. And, leaving a good quote unquote government job wasn't the answer, right? Like, no, people don't leave government jobs. I'm thinking, well, I can't stay here doing this. And what I've learned is that I grew up in a box checker mentality. You go to work, you work a 40-hour work week, you go home, and you just do it again until retirement. I'm thinking, but this can't be life. I need to do something different. So I went out on a limb and just started a women's workshop at my church. I said, I just want to do this at my church, scared out of my mind. Group of women at my church came to my workshop, different ages, different backgrounds. But what I learned from that is that they all left with the same thing, this hidden fear, this hidden being scared, but they cannot show it anywhere. They have to be strong. And I'm thinking there's something here to tap into. And that's how my business started to grow. Let me focus on those women that can't say that I'm having a hard time because I'm a leader, right? But we all experience it.
So I love how it happened a little bit by accident. And
Yeah.
you know what, I'm going to do this. That was 2019 that you started that? You did that first workshop?
The first workshop was probably 2018.
Okay, 2018. All right. So the first workshop, you went to your church and said, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." And then the customers, if you will, the women in the community came and you stepped away and go, "Wait a minute, there's a business here and I can really help women step into their own power."
Absolutely. In my mind, I'm thinking I'm just going to create this space and we're just going to talk. And someone wrote on their evaluation, "Do you have a private practice?" And I'm thinking, never crossed my mind. I'm thinking, I don't have an aftercare program for this group. And I don't have a space for them to continue to evolve what they learned. Why don't I start a private practice? And I couldn't think of an answer to no. Okay, well, let's start one.
So I love how the little signs align up and it just evolves. I was part of a conversation this week about answering the question, are you listening to your clients? Are you giving your clients what they want? And a lot of answering that question, are you giving clients what they want, comes from listening to them. And this conversation led to, if we just listen, they're going to tell us what it is that they want. And they told you on the evaluation form as some kind, and I love you called it aftercare. That's pretty cool. Aftercare. So what did you start a group coaching? Did you start a group coaching is what you did?
I started with private practice.
Okay.
I did another women's group since I had my business. And then I did in February of 2020. Pandemic happened in March. So I just had, right before that mark. So I'm going to continue that. I was trying to learn the business thing and build that. Private practice has been going well. And it's time to pivot a little bit more now.
Yeah, pivoting is actually something that I think is really important, and paying attention when the world gives you signs or your customers give us signs that, hey, it's time to make strategic pivots in our business. And I'll be the first to admit, the Amazing Entrepreneurs Club podcast is a pivot in my business because I saw a need that entrepreneurs needed a space to share their story, but also to gain insights from other entrepreneurs. And this is a direct result of a pivot. So I totally understand that. Charese, you made the pivot and you started really getting the business moving. What's the last, you said that was 2020. What's the last couple of years been like for you?
A lot of growth and learning and realizing that I was doing things so backwards. I knew what my end goal was, which was I want to be a speaker and I want to be in media. So the very first thing I did when I started my business was take a workshop on how to be a speaker. And I bought this person's expensive package of how to be a speaker. So I went through all that. And when I was done, I learned there's a whole lot of steps before I actually become a speaker and to be successful at it. So the first thing I did was probably one of the latter things that I should have done. But just learning that there's processes to the end goal. And so I've learned the hard way with a lot of money, right? I was spending like, oh, there's something before this. Oh, there's something before this. But as I've made those mistakes, I think I've learned better now with the journey. Yep. That can be a little bit more effective and cost effective. So,
well, I think the interesting thing about our journeys is we're all on different journeys. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're all going places, but again, there's no clear roadmap to being an entrepreneur. And started one place and realized, you know what, I need to take a step back and start somewhere else. But you got amazing learning from it. So when the time does come for you to implement all the learning that you got about being a public speaker, you'll be able to easily implement it because you went back and you did the work on the tough things that you needed to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. So I want to step into our next round, if you will. And I have 3 questions that I want to ask you that I ask every guest on the show. Okay. You ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
So when you think about it, what's been your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
The biggest challenge is learning that the entrepreneur journey is never done. And I'm used to getting things done. I need to do this, I'm finished. I'm finished, every week or every day or by Friday, I'm finished. And then for the entrepreneur, I'm like, wait a minute, you're not ever really finished. I may have completed something, but I'm not finished with it, right? It's on these evolution and learning and growing and realizing that me getting things done, I had to redefine what that looked like. It's like I accomplished this for today and I'm going to celebrate what I accomplished, but the road is just ongoing. So that's one of my biggest challenges. And once I shifted my mindset and started to have realistic goals for the day, I have stuff on my whiteboard of what I want to do. And I try to keep it short. Before it was a long list. And I'm thinking, well, that's not helpful. Let's keep it short. And then once you do that, you cross it off and then you can add something else when you've earned that next part of it. So that's what helped me kind of understanding the not done. Because first I'm feeling like I'm losing or I'm doing something wrong. But I'm like, no, this is part of the journey. So once I adjust my mindset and started making some realistic goals and knowing that that's an ongoing thing as well has really been helpful.
So working on our mindset is something that we have to do each and every day, because, and I love how you said that the being an entrepreneur is not just checking boxes off, and you're not just like done one day. Oh, I'm done. I'm a complete entrepreneur. The journey is ongoing. And to me, you're right. It has no destination. It doesn't end, because if you're really invested in yourself and really invested in what you're doing, you're constantly learning and growing and becoming better. And what does that do? That helps you serve better. That helps you be that helps you show up better for your clients and to serve at the highest level for them, because that's what they need. They need us showing up at that place.
Absolutely.
All right. So next question. What do you believe are 3 qualities that make up a successful entrepreneur?
I think one is to care about people more than you care about your money and your status. Because the people will, one, generate us. And I don't care if we have a product or a service that we're still selling ourselves and we're still connecting with people. So I think one of the qualities is keeping that focus on what do people need and want, and are we satisfying that? And let the bonus and the business growth be a byproduct of that, and kind of have a people first mentality.
I love that. Care about the people more than the money, because if you do, and you care about the people you're serving and the clients you're serving, the money will come. But if
Absolutely.
you're only focused on the money first, then honestly, your priorities are misaligned, and the people will come, but not the way they will come if you serve them first. So that's a great tip. What's another tip?
Another one is do something that you never thought that you would do. And this is going to build your confidence. So I'm an introvert. So if you would ask me years ago, would you be a speaker? I'm like, really? You don't know me. Like, I'm an introvert. No, absolutely not. I would not be a speaker. Right. But I did small things to build that confidence to say, I can learn this. I can do this. I started out with a direct selling company. I had to meet people. I had to go in front of a group, get an audience together, and sell a product that was not mine, right? Completely outside of my comfort zone. I didn't intend to do it for long, but I had to prove that I could do that uncomfortable thing. So to build that confidence, do something you just didn't think you could do.
That is such a great piece of advice, because real growth happens when we're outside our comfort zone. That's when the real magic happens. That's when the amazing ideas come up. That's when the transformation, not just for us as entrepreneurs, but the transformation for our clients, that's when that happens as well. So that is a great tip. All right. What's the third one?
The third one is kind of piggyback off of the first one about caring about people, but it's really about building relationships. And so getting in our head is very easy, especially for me. I can be in my head a lot, but I cannot have a relationship in that way by myself. I need to get into spaces where I am with like-minded people, and that's going to show me something and tell me something and expose me to something that I did not know that I needed to know. So networking and building those relationships and those connections are extremely important.
So care about others outside your comfort zone, and network, network, and network.
Yes.
Those are
Yes.
three really good qualities of successful entrepreneurs. And I'm so glad that you shared them. So now the third question I want to ask you is when you think about your journey, though your entrepreneur journey has been a little bit short, but when you think about it, what's that unexpected idea that you've had and how has it impacted your business?
Starting a clubhouse room. Someone would mention it to me. I'll be on Clubhouse and I'll say something. And actually, I was two different rooms, two different people that didn't know each other. And they would say, Charese, do you have a Clubhouse room? And I said, no. And I really just didn't think much about it. Till the second person asked me. And then I'm thinking, maybe I need to give some thought to this. But of course, where do I add this into my other list of things? And I was leaving work one day on a Friday. I don't know what popped into my head, but I'm sitting in my car on my phone, creating my clubhouse room. And then I drove home.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
what are your clubhouse rooms about?
So it's called the Grown Woman Talk. And so I was doing for the past year, I was doing Facebook and Instagram lives about grown woman topics. And then as time went on, I'm talking, but people aren't really talking back on this big social media platform. And I was like, well, what if I take it off this platform, listen to what people have asked, do you have a clubhouse room? I want to hear back. I want to talk back. So the room is for these high achieving women who typically say, I don't have a space to share when I felt lost or confused, or just simply say, I don't know, or my confidence is low. Let's be in this room of this safe space where one, you can talk about those things. And I'm all for it. Promote your business. What do you have coming up? Like, I want to celebrate you. I want us to celebrate you, and let's support you. So that's what the room is about.
That is awesome. Now, what's the frequency of doing those? How often do you do those?
So I'm going to work on once a week because I want to take good advice from my friend Sid Meadows, who said you need to have consistency and a scheduled time frame. So I'm looking at either Sundays or Tuesdays. I'm going to see what works better. But those are the days I'm looking at to have at least once a week.
That's awesome. And you mentioned earlier that you were doing Instagram lives and Facebook lives. Are you still doing those as well?
I'm still doing those as well.
Okay. When are those?
Those are every Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay. So I will have a topic usually about relationships or usually mindset shifts, where I want people to learn to think of things differently than how we're probably heard about them. Yeah. Like, let's how to think about trust differently, how we think about relationships differently. And it's all about the self. We think about the other people and our experiences, but it's about the self. So that's what I try to give a different perspective on that.
So first off, I love that Clubhouse is the unexpected thing, because I think Clubhouse is an amazing tool that a lot of people can use. You had people asking you for it. Again, you listen to them, which is, I think, really important. And now you're starting it, you're doing it. It's kind of an adjunct, if you will, to your Instagram and Facebook lives, but now it's a two-way conversation and not just a static conversation. You actually get to engage, which, as someone who's a creator on Clubhouse, I really appreciate that engagement and people coming up and sharing their insights and joining the conversation.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you just said there that I think is really important is we have to work on ourselves. You didn't say it exactly that way, because when we're in a situation or a relationship, and maybe we are with a client or whomever it is, we can't change them. We can't fix them. They're not broken. We can't fix them. The only thing that we can do is change ourselves. And we can work on ourselves to become better. And I think anybody that comes to us or hires either one of us or any other coach or consultant or whatever, they're looking, I think, for strategies and ways to get better. And it's our job to provide some of that to them, but they have to do the work, just like we have to do the work. And
absolutely.
If we don't do the work, I mean, that's our choice. We're not going to get forward progress. And I'm all about forward progress.
Yeah, I learned that lesson, Sid, when I did all the stuff that I thought I was supposed to do. And because I did that, I thought I was supposed to get what I was supposed to get. So I went to college for 6 years, and I don't know, no one really told me. It was in my head. I'm supposed to meet my husband in college. So here I am graduating on that 6th year, and I'm like, no husband or a boyfriend, right? So, and as I just did all these things and jobs, I'm still waiting for all the stuff to come together, right? My dad said, you go to college, you're going to be rich. I went to college and came out making 30,000. I'm thinking, I don't think this is the rich that he was talking about. And so I learned that there's something different that needs to be done to cultivate the life that I want to have. And so that's what I was kind of stepping into, and want to help my audience do that as well.
Well, I think you bring up something we could probably talk for quite a while about is societal expectations. That, okay, you get out of high school, you go to college, you go 4 or however long you go to college, you check out, you talked about it earlier, check boxes, check off all these boxes. And at the end of college, you're going to get a full-time job. You're going to make a lot of money and you're off to the races. And right after that, you're going to get married and then you're going to have kids. And it's like the society has all these little check boxes, and it's almost impossible to make that happen. Right.
Yeah.
And we have to do what's best for us at the time that's best for us, and quit letting, this is my opinion only, quit letting society say that this is what's expected of us, that we have to go to school for 4 years or 6 years or 8 years, whatever, and do what we really want to do.
Right. And that's where my work comes in, because if we don't do those check boxes, then it kind of comes to, but then what? What do I do? Right. And that's where my work is. Well, how do you learn to trust yourself again? And so the lives and the clubhouses, where are you stuck in about trusting yourself? Because it's not about the process. It's about who you are in the process. And let's explore that a little bit more to get what you want.
That's such a great conversation. All right. I want to keep going though. So the next thing I wanted to talk about for just a minute is, what would you, from your experience, what 3 tips would you give to entrepreneurs to help them along their journey?
One, I would say, always look out for personal and professional development. And it may look different than how we may, right? We go to a training, we'll go to these types of things in terms of the professional, but the personal development is, do I need a break? Am I okay with rest? What does my rest look like? And then how does this show up in other areas of my life, right? And then realizing, like, this might hinder or help me in certain areas, but I need to understand what that is. So personal and professional development is really important.
All right. So I want to ask you a question about that, because it's one of my favorite topics. When did you really learn about it?
I'm learning that my life is shifting over in terms of that box checking, when I'm thinking I'm one, I understand it. But then, my kids and just other life tells me, no, you still need to be flexible. You're not as flexible as you thought that you were. And so when I started this new job with all this time, I took on all this stuff. I have time. Now, my 8-year-old said to me, she's like, you work too hard, you do too much, and you need to take a break. This week is my break. No clients this week. My 8-year-old told me that. Yeah.
Intuitive young person there.
Yes.
Lady.
Yes.
So very good. Well, the reason I asked the question is, I spent too many years, in their double-digit years, working in corporate America for somebody else. And it's 5.5 years ago that I left and started doing my own thing. I had always heard like professional development kind of back in the back of my brain here, but the companies I worked for never prioritized it. They never introduced us to it. They never brought people in to educate us. They certainly never brought in coaches or, offered up a lot of trainings. And I remember the one time I was going to a training, it was like pulling teeth to try to get it funded. And all these things. And then it got canceled because of weather. So I ended up actually never going. But it was only after I started my journey as an entrepreneur that I truly discovered professional development. And man, my eyes were wide open, which is why now, Charese, I have a whole bookshelf full of books about professional development and growth. So I've become a little bit of a junkie since then, but there's a whole world out there. So I appreciate that. So what's the second tip?
The second tip I would say is keep a level of routine. And I don't mean rigid that, but what time are you going to bed? What time are you getting it up in the morning? What is your morning routine looking like? What is your afternoon routine looking like? Are you holding yourself accountable? Do you need someone to hold yourself accountable? And this helps to reduce the overwhelm that entrepreneurship can have, right? We want to do all these things. I have all this day and I just want to conquer the world by 5. But if we have a routine that we can hold ourselves accountable, we can maintain our health, our wellness, our emotions, our relationships, and as well as grow our business. So I think having that routine to help with some accountability is very beneficial.
I love, love, love that. So far, you're batting 1,000 with me. What's the third tip?
The third one is master one thing before you take on something else.
Whoa, that's so good. That is so good. Keep going.
Yeah, master. I've have all these goals of all these things I want to do. So it's like a squirrel. Oh, someone has a course for this. Oh, someone's right. And so I'm taking on all these things, but I've mastered nothing or limited. I didn't say nothing, limited. It's like, let me grow and understand something where off the top of my head, I can tell you about this.
Right.
And within that, I have developed and grown and networked and have some relationships. Now let's see how that can evolve into something else. And not to be too premature. It's okay to put something or resource. I'm going to tap into that a little bit later. I'm going to maintain the relationship. I'm going to tap in more when I'm at a better place to do that.
Those are really 3 great tips. And I appreciate you sharing them. And I love that they come straight from your journey too. And you're able to draw some quick parallels with it. And that's why we do that section. So, all right. Are you ready to have some fun?
I am ready, I think.
Okay. So this is the best part of the show that I like the most. I have a deck of cards here. Okay. And all of these cards have random questions on them. And so while you've been talking, I've been shuffling the cards and I want you to pick a number from 1 to 10. And I'm going to count it off the top of this deck and we'll ask you whatever question is on the card. You ready? Which number?
Number 3.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. First question. When you're feeling sick, what makes you feel better?
When I'm feeling sick, what makes me feel better is knowing that I am loved in my sickness. So when I don't feel good, my daughters will come and bring me something of their 8 and 9-year-old capacity. They'll give me a kiss. They'll make sure I'm comfortable. They'll pull my cover up on me and they'll shut the door and they'll say, love you, mommy. Bye-bye. And I'm like, love you too. And just to know that it's okay for me to rest, but I also have people to say, I got it, mommy. I got it. Even though they're, short little people, right? And my husband is there supportive. So that's what makes me feel good because it's good to have reminders of that
Well, absolutely. On a daily basis, mind you.
on a daily basis.
So,
Yeah.
all right. Another number between 1 and 10.
8.
6, 7, 8. Sorry, I was having to count in my head. All right. This question. Ooh, this is a good one. If you had to lose one of your 5 senses, which one would you give up? That's a really good question.
Ooh, that is a good question. If I was to lose one of my 5 senses, it's so taboo to say. Okay, so not really. So I'm just playing along, but in my mind, I'm thinking my vision.
Okay.
Because it will give me the ability to hear and feel more than seeing and being in my brain a little bit more. And sometimes I can be a strength, but it can hinder me at times. So being able to hear and feel and connect and touch and smell is such a deeper connection. So that's something that I kind of strive to do. And I'm trying to do it more purposefully now.
Well, I think what's interesting about that question, and you highlighted it just a little bit there, is I'm going to tie it directly to listening.
Yeah.
Because if we're listening with our whole body, meaning using all 5 of our senses, then we actually are better connected to the person that's speaking. And this person that we're talking to, it means we're being more present to them because there's so much that is actually the most powerful form of communication is nonverbal. And so when we can pick up on that by using our senses and we can feel it, not only can we see it, but we can sense it, we can feel it, we can hear it when people change their voices. So there's a lot of power to listening with your senses. So thank you for sharing that one. That was a really good one. All right. So last question, another number between 1 and 10.
Let's go with 6.
1, 2, 3. All right. Number 6. Okay. What or who has made the biggest impression on your life in the last year? That's a really good question too. So what or who has made the biggest impression on your life in the last year?
In the last year, I would say my 9-year-old daughter has made the biggest impression because she is a very intuitive girl, independent minded. And I'm thinking, I'm in awe of her. Also realizing that she challenges me in ways that I didn't expect to be challenged, right? I'm thinking, you're 9, like mommy knows when you get older, but she'll ask me questions and say things. And I'm thinking, man, her mind is so much older than 9, which says that I need to be on my toes with her. I need to be on my toes with her, but also says that I need to have this flexibility with her. So it teaches me about flexibility in so many other areas that goes completely against who I was before I had her. But she inspires me of saying, mommy, this is how I want to do things. This is how things, she wants to be an entrepreneur. She has a little 9-year-old rubber band jewelry business. And she's very passionate about her business. She marketed her own business in school. I was like, you have to do your schoolwork though. You're in the 4th grade, but, but she's made some sales, So I'm like, little girl, you inspire me.
That is awesome. I love it. I really appreciate that connection and sharing it. And that's pretty exciting. You have a 9-year-old entrepreneur in your house.
Yes.
That's really exciting. So, Charese, I just can't thank you enough for being here today, sharing a little bit about your story and what you do and the insights that you shared with our community today. To me, one of the most important things as entrepreneurs that we can do is to share our experiences, share what we've learned, help other people along their journey, because you've talked about it. I've talked about it on other shows. This journey that we're on is not a path that is straight and flat that goes straight up. It just is not. It's full of bumps and rocks and, hills and valleys. And you've mentioned a lot of things that are, I think, important, but to me, one of the most important things is doing what we did right here today, which is to share your voice and to share your insights. So I really appreciate you being here today and doing that for us.
Thank you, Sid. I appreciate this. This is fun.
So if our community would like to get in touch with you, tell us, what are the best ways for them to do that?
Sure. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn at Charese Josie. And also on Clubhouse, follow my Grown Women Talk Room, and we'd love to connect with you there.
So we will be sure that we drop all of those in the show notes so you guys can connect directly to Charese. If you do reach out to her, please let her know that you heard her right here on the Amazing Entrepreneurs Club, so she knows how that you got to her. Charese, again, thank you very much for being here today and for sharing all of your amazing insights.
Thank you so much, Sid. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
All right, go out there and make today great, and we'll see you again next week.
Okay, bye.